When you talk about social media, you talk about freedom of expression, but when it comes to financial advice, something that would hurt our finances, if the advice is not what it needs to be, then the regulator needs to step in. And I'm going to have a market regulator, SEBI, reportedly now framing guidelines to regulate financial influencers. Sources are telling us here on ET Now that the securities watchdog is taking the steps required after a number of financial influencers on social media have been growing, and they've been growing without any regulation. So let's find out what SEBI is considering. Ankur, my colleague, is joining us with exclusive details, and he sent us this report.
Yes, we have been given to understand that SEBI is working on guidelines for financial influencers. You would have seen on social media there is a spurt of recommendations which is coming not only from registered investment advisors but many of the influencers who do not have any qualification in the financial field, and in fact they have been recommending about stocks, about option strategies on their YouTube channel, on Telegram, as well as various other social media platforms. Now SEBI has taken a cognizance of the same. They have collected the data, they have received a few complaints as well. Based on that, there is going to be a regulation for financial advices which is being given on social media. Now as far as the issues are concerned, you would have seen that in the recent listings, many of the retail investors were trapped on the basis of the advices they have been given on the social media. And as far as the number is concerned, only 1,300 crore financial advisors are registered on SEBI, but you would see on social media the number is much more, the advices are much more. So one by one SEBI is going to crack on these illegal advices, and apart from that you will also see a regulation which will be coming for financial advisors.
So I'm going to have a financial influencer join us in a discussion as well. But before we get to it, here's a look at what actually goes out in some of these financial influencer social media posts.
क्या आप जानते हैं कि डोमेन ट्रेडिंग करके आप कमा सकते हैं बहुत अच्छी पैसिव इनकम? चलिए आज जानते हैं कैसे। नमस्ते नमस्कार दोस्तों, सबसे पहले ये जानते हैं कि डोमेन क्या होता है। आप जितनी भी वेबसाइट्स देखते हैं, चाहे वो इंस्टाग्राम, फेसबुक, यूट्यूब या इवन गूगल हो, उस नाम को कहते हैं डोमेन। अब ये डोमेन ट्रेडिंग क्या होती है? जिस तरह से आप स्टॉक्स में ट्रेड करते हैं, सस्ता खरीद के महंगा बेचते हैं, उसी तरह से आपको यहाँ पे करना है। आपको ऐसे डोमेन खरीदने हैं जिनकी डिमांड फ्यूचर में जाके बढ़ सकती है। अब ये डिमांड बढ़ेगी कैसे? आपको कोशिश करनी है कि आपका डोमेन कम से कम नंबर ऑफ वर्ड्स के साथ इजी, अंडरस्टैंडेबल और मेमोरेबल हो, और उसी के साथ उसका एक्सटेंशन .com, .in, .co, .net में से ही हो। अब ये डोमेन खरीद और बेच कहां सकते हैं, ये सारी इन्फॉर्मेशन मैं कैप्शन में डाल दूंगा। इस मेथड ऑफ इनकम में इन्वेस्टमेंट जरूरी है, तो अपने डिसीजन वाइसली लें, और ऐसे ही मनी हैक्स जानते रहने के लिए मुझे फॉलो करना ना भूलें।
All right, so that's Bhanu Pathak, and this gives you an instance of how financial influencers go about giving financial advice. Of course, they paint the entire picture. And here he is with us. Bhanu, it's good to have you with us on the show. You're an influencer, a financial influencer. Do you think you need to be regulated by the SEBI?
Hi Vikram, thank you. Thanks for having me. And of course, I think that yes, there's a need of regulation over all the finance influencers, including me. Because there are many cases, even I have seen within my ecosystem, because sometimes what happens is that a brand comes to us and they keep bargaining with us. They keep increasing the prices for the brands which we should not be promoting. This also happened few months back when even RBI put on some alert on illegal forex trading sites. But then what happened in our ecosystem was that they came up with more, they came up with increased pricing for us guys to deliver that product that RBI was regulating. RBI was saying not to go in that direction, but yeah, we were said that go for them. So yes, sometimes few influencers in our system also may get influenced. We influencer also gets influenced sometime in this case. So yeah, there is need for the regulation by SEBI, because what we said also affects what our audience is seeing, and their hard-earned money is also on stake when they follow us, what we are saying.
Bhanu Pathak, that we would like to hear, and this would have been on your mind even when you were giving out all that financial advice. How is it going to change the kind of posts that you do put out now that SEBI is going to put certain regulations?
Okay. what I think is that after SEBI will be coming up with the regulations, then we should be set to do the certification. As of now, what I am aware of, that SEBI comes with two main certification. That is one of research analyst and one is of investment advisor, which only 1300 are there, as rightly said by one of your colleagues. That should be implemented, and also we should be said that we should be give some disclaimer with our video if we are promoting, and we should be warning our audience that at this point in this video we are promoting this, and we like they should also do their research, and we have done ours. So this disclaimer thing and the certification should come in action for all the influencer in our ecosystem.
It can be as few as that, the kind of changes. Let's find out. Sandeep Parekh is managing partner at FinSec Law Advisors, and he's joining in on this discussion as well. Firstly, great to have you as well, Sandeep. And do tell us, from everything that you're hearing from Bhanu Pathak about the need for regulations, how much of it have you observed yourself?
So let me break the analysis. First of all, thank you for having me here. Let's break this into kind of three buckets. I think the first bucket is with respect to, honestly held belief. For instance, I believe based on, the annual reports and other things that a particular company is going to do well. It's my opinion. It's kind of falls under freedom of speech under the Constitution. It is kind of limited by the fact that if I'm giving specific investment advice or research as defined under the two regulations, then I need to be registered, otherwise I can't give it. But again, there are a lot of exemptions for instance, journalists like you, for people who give broad brushstroke advice on the market. So there are a lot of exemptions. So that's bucket number one. Bucket number two is kind of where people take money and they kind of peddle specific, let's say, stocks or other financial products. And the third bucket is simple fraud. And I think the third bucket is what needs to be kind of attacked first, because it's kind of gained epidemic proportions right now, and a lot of people kind of do what we always call pump and dump schemes, which is kind of say that this X stock is doing great, and in couch to the promoters, and then after you buy in advance of making such recommendation, and then you sell it after you made the recommendation.
So I think rampant is that? How much of that have we seen? Bhanu Pathak, do come in on this. Give us a sense of how deep you've seen the behind-the-scenes connections, a nexus even if you'd like to call it that, between influencers and all kinds of companies in the market trying to sell their financial investment products.
As said earlier, they come up like, as of now, what happens is that what we were said that they need to we need to promote this product in this manner. Then we come up with the script, and then they need to approve it. But most of the time what we do is that we also keep our audience in mind and then make our script and all. And we also object when they said that we need to mention that line or that particular line, because we also being from finance, I'm also from finance background. So I know in which direction I should be going and which is riskier, as also said by Sandeep. And the bucket thing, I also liked it, because I think is that according to buckets, the regulations should get stricter. Like if you are in bucket 1, then SEBI should regulate it till some extent. And if you are doing till bucket 2, then there should be there should be stricter manner in which you should be saying, in which you should be delivering, and what you are claiming your audience. And in bucket 3, which is again a fraudster, where they simply ask money from our simple audience. So that should totally be stopped.
Fair enough. Sandeep, I feel that at this time, we see this problem perhaps because monetizing some of the kind of content that is generated by financial influencers is not the easiest. And when you talk about fraud, there is a financial remuneration involved. There is a transaction over there for spreading perhaps biased information or altogether wrong information. Now that's going to be a challenge. How are you going to plug that hole? How is SEBI likely to do that? How do you do it?
Yeah. So I need to log out in 2 minutes. So I'll be brief. So essentially, to the extent that, for instance, you have celebrities peddling, whiteness creams or soaps, etc. Obviously there is a bit of puffery involved.
Yes.
Which is okay. But which, in the financial space, given the higher set of regulations, you come with disclaimers. You say that, okay, I've been paid by X, Y, and Z to say this. that takes away the conflict of interest really, and that's fine. Peddling something is fine. Being an influencer is fine. But I think the real problem, as I said, is the third bucket where there is fraud involved, which you do pump and dump. And I think there has to be, there are existing regulations which kind of talk about this and prohibit this. So all you need is better enforcement and not kind of new set of rules and regulations and guidelines. So as I said,
implementation is the key. As with most laws, how are you going to implement them? How are they going to all hold together? How are you going to monitor? That's something that we have to watch, right?
So sorry. So for bucket 2, I think disclosure is good enough, saying that you received money from X, Y, and Z. And for fraud, I think it just has to be pure enforcement. People have to pay for the sins of fraud.
Well, I see Bhanu Pathak nodding in agreement, and we'll see exactly what SEBI goes ahead and does. Right now, it's in the pipeline. It is a tricky one because, yes, there is freedom of speech at stake, and social media has been difficult to really regulate, and this is across sectors. For financial advice, it becomes trickier still. How SEBI goes about doing it is something we're all watching out for, but thanks very much for joining us. It's a pleasure chatting with you, Bhanu.